coming up next.
If you need to just get on the floor and pound your fists into a pillow or punch a punching bag, oh my gosh, I bet you will feel so good after. And what we have to do is just set aside any of the conditioning that said this is not okay, especially as women. It's not okay to be this angry.
Right.
The pillow doesn't care. It's not going to tell you that you're a bad person for hitting it. You know what I mean? But we're not going to go out and like hit another human. But we have to just set aside the belief that it's not, our design to express that way, because it is our design to let all emotion and all energy move through us. And that might be one form of the expression.
Welcome to Faith Over Addiction podcast, where the chains of fixing and striving are broken and joy is rediscovered in Christ. You are here because you know there's more for you, a life beyond addiction's chaos, rooted in God's peace and promises. This is the place where Christian women like you learn to release the weight of fixing and striving and instead lean into God's strength to create a home filled with love, grace, and hope. She is clothed with strength and dignity. Proverbs 31:25. That's you. You may not feel like it yet, but you are stronger than you know. And God has so much more for you than carrying someone else's addiction. Here, we'll uncover how to set healthy boundaries with love and a little humor. Find resilience and grace in the messy moments of life. Celebrate small victories and embrace joy like never before. Lean into God's promises for restoration and strength, because He's not done with your story or your loved ones. This is your invitation to rise up, embrace your worth in God's kingdom, and take back what's been stolen by addiction: your peace, your joy, your future. Your faith is the foundation, and your boundaries are the bridge, and God's truth is your guide. I'm Tanya Gioia, your host and fellow traveler on this journey through the chaos of addiction. I'm here to cheer you on, equip you with tools that work, and share the truth that's changed my life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Together, we'll uncover how to create safe, loving space for healing, starting with your own heart and home. By setting boundaries, trusting God's plan, and embracing His truth, you can reclaim your joy, your peace, and your family's future. Then you will be able to stand firm for your family and legacy as a kingdom daughter, a woman who can laugh at the days to come, knowing her identity is secure in Christ. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and get comfortable. Let's walk this journey together. We're about to take back what's been stolen, create a safe, healing space for you and your family, and rediscover the joy God has waiting for you. Welcome to Faith Over Addiction, where we're helping women come back into their identity in Christ, to know who and whose they are, to help them build themselves so that they have the ability to be a safe and nurturing place for those that are struggling in their family, maybe friends that are struggling. So I have brought in Lauren Fay. She has so much to offer us around sobriety, taking care of yourself, making sure that you are filling your cup so that you can be available, not to empty yourself into them, but that you can give from your abundance. So Lauren, tell us a little bit more about your work and your story. What has brought you to what you do today?
Thank you so much for having me. And what brought me to what I do today is my own personal story of alcohol addiction. There's also eating disorders in there, some cocaine drug addiction in there. So I used to say I didn't discriminate against the eating disorders. I tried them all. And really what it showed me was that everything that I was doing was a cry for love. It was my way of, and this is of course in hindsight, in the time I didn't realize that that's what I needed, but I had just disconnected from my own, my own love. And I think a lot of people that fall into any sort of addictive habits do that. So, or have done that. And so now, as an alcohol-free empowerment coach, holistic coach, I'm also a Reiki master teacher. I really help women remember this identity of who they are before these actions. And I like to talk about everything in terms of energy. So I think it's so great that you open this and, in filling your own cup to make sure you have a full well to give from. And that includes how you do it for yourself as well.
So let's dive right into that. I'm feeling exhausted, depleted, maybe even a little angry and overwhelmed by my circumstance. I come into you and I'm just ready to unload. What is it that you help women build?
The first thing that I help women build is reconnecting back to their intuitive guidance, reconnecting back to the divine wisdom of their bodies. When we go straight into action, whether it's the action of shopping, gambling, sex, alcohol, eating, couch potatoing, when we go straight into action, we're bypassing what the actual message of the body is of what we really truly need, what would be soul nourishing. So the very first step, is learning that sacred pause, learning how to just sit with yourself long enough to tune into your body and to actually hear what it is that she wants. And you can prompt that intuition and those messages by asking very curious questions. Like, what is the most loving, kind thing I could do for myself right now? Or what do I actually need? And it could be, maybe I just need to rest, maybe I need to take a 20-minute power nap, or maybe I need to throw a little temper tantrum and move some energy, or maybe I just need to cry. Maybe I need to go for a walk. And then you go do that thing. And it's in alignment with what your body is asking you to do versus your mind of what you think you should be doing. And there's usually a difference between those two answers.
Lauren, what if I am so far into the caregiving that if you asked me if I wanted chicken or fish for dinner, I would turn to those that I care for and ask them, that I have bypassed my wants and needs for so long that even checking in is overwhelming?
Totally.
How would you begin to what tips or ideas would you give me to even begin to say, oh, maybe I do like fish better than chicken. Maybe
Mhm.
I've never liked chicken, but I've never thought about it.
Yeah. I think when we get into that place of just such overwhelm, especially when we then fall into survival mode, we think that the way to fix it is to go all in. Like you see the elephant and you want to eat it in one bite. And I would say, oh my gosh, we need to reel it back to grace and to compassion and to a whole lot of nurturing. So first there needs to be a willingness to tap back in, to come back in. And then the second would be to take just really, really small steps. And so for a woman that hasn't done it, she's just completely lost herself, in the caregiving. Can you set your alarm for maybe 90 seconds or maybe 2 minutes and just sit somewhere in silence where there's no external noise? Because what we want to do is look very, very slowly and again, gracefully teach the body how to come back to the internal sounds, like the internal messaging, and not be completely bombarded and engulfed and suffocated by all the external. And we can do that by starting really small. I think some people think they need to go from 0 to 100. And so you can go from 0 to 1 and then you go, into 2 and then to 3. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but I always guide women to just go a lot slower than they think they're supposed to be going.
Question is, how do you slow down, right? Because if I met you in the grocery store and I said, how you're doing, probably you wouldn't say this to me, but anybody else would go, I'm just so busy. I'm
Right.
just so busy.
I'm just so busy.
How do you, so the biggest thing that I find is, if I slow down, then I
Mhm.
might feel some pain, which is why I've sped up and started taking care of somebody and abandoning myself and doing those things.
Mhm.
What do you do to nurture women through the pain
Mhm.
that, I mean, you've been through it. You ran to outside things to heal pain.
Oh,
How
yes.
do you deal with that?
Absolutely. Coming from a woman who numbed out again through food or alcohol for so long, I completely understand this. And of course, my words are said so much easier than actually putting it into action. Um, but it's the honest truth that our feelings don't hurt us. And so we have constructed fear and stories around the less pleasant emotions. Like, I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to, and we're talking emotional pain, not physical pain. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel depressed. I don't want to feel alone. But in all honesty, those don't actually hurt you. It's just energy. Um, and all energy is neutral until we give it a meaning. And so we've decided that loneliness is not the feeling of loneliness is not a good thing. We've decided that the feeling of anger is not a good thing. But what actually can hurt us is the action we take in response to those feelings, like the binge and purge, or the drinking the alcohol, or the, you know, gambling your life savings away, all of those things. So, how do we go back to it? First, it's, can we believe that it's safe to feel my feelings? That if I were to sit down and feel really sad, that I will be safe. And I know that's hard. It's a hard ask when we actually believe like there is the saber-toothed tiger behind us or the boogeyman in the closet, because our bodies are in, fight or flight mode, survival mode. But again, it's just that willingness to practice, and to practice in really, really small increments. Can you have a moment of sadness, succeed at that, and be like, oh, I survived that experience?
Nothing ate me, right?
Nothing
Nothing
ate
ate
me.
me. I
Yeah.
survived that. And I guess my using myself as the example, my biggest fear is if I do sit down and I do become sad, I will never come out again. Nobody will get taken care of. It will all fall apart. But my experience has been, it eases. I love it when you said earlier, maybe you need to go for a walk. Maybe you need to be quiet. Maybe you need to throw a tantrum.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
if you were
Move the
to
energy.
encourage people to throw a tantrum, what does that look like? We're really afraid of emotional displays. So, what would you encourage a client to do?
Well, I mean, how many times as children did we want to have a temper tantrum and we were told, not now, or that's not appropriate, or whatever it might be. And so there's all this unexpressed energy in our bodies. And what I have found is a lot of people who come out of addictive behaviors have a lot of anger. And I
Mm.
call it sacred rage. Like, it's sacred because it's yours and all parts of you are welcome here. Now, it doesn't mean permission to go be a mean person, right? It just means permission to move that energy from your body. So, yeah, if you need to just get on the floor and pound your fists into a pillow or punch a punching bag, oh my gosh, I bet you will feel so good after. And what we have to do is just set aside any of the conditioning that said this is not okay, especially as women. It's not okay to be this angry.
Right, right.
The pillow doesn't care. It's not going to tell you that you're a bad person for hitting it. You know what I mean? But we're not going to go out and like hit another human. But we have to just set aside the belief that it's not, our design to express that way, because it is our design to let all emotion and all energy move through us. And that might be one form of the expression.
So when you've worked with a client and they have moved through sacred rage, what do they feel like on the other side?
Well, I mean, I can talk from personal experience, but I would say the consensus is relief. Like, the biggest exhale ever taken in your life. Oh my God, that's finally out of me. That felt so good. And then usually it's that elation, like all of those good feelings start to fire back and come back online. And I've noticed that usually after rage follows like laughter. I mean, we're talking belly laughter, tears coming down the face, laughter, where it's just so much relief, and it's almost comical. It's like, I can't believe I took myself so seriously, or took that so seriously, or held on to that for so long. And we have this comedic relief, which is, what a beautiful way to heal, by bringing joy in. But sometimes we can't just go straight to joy. Sometimes we do have to get this other gunk out of the way first.
And you've talked about this a couple times in this conversation about emotions passing through you, emotions not being good and bad. Can you elaborate on that?
Mhm. Yes. Well, again, I don't know if I said this yet, but I'm a Reiki master teacher. I really love to speak in terms of energy. And we think about energy in flow. anything around us. Like there's always energy moving and it's always in flow. And if we want a visualization, it's like a raging river. But as soon as all those logs start to pile up, we get a backup, right? It gets to form like a dam in a way, and then things get stuck back there. That can happen in the body too. And so when we move energy, we're just keeping things in flow. There's room for the old to leave, and then there's room for the new to come in. And it's just constantly in this state of motion. When we become stagnant, when we stop moving, that's when feelings get so big and so overbearing and so unmanageable, because it's just taking up too much real estate in our bodies.
And what I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, physical symptoms might be showing up too because that logjam is happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In terms of energy, we have multiple bodies. So we've got this physical body that we can touch, and then we have our emotional body, we have our mental body, all of our thoughts, our spiritual body. We even have our auric body, so like the energy around us. And it's said that energy enters through the auric body first. So by the time it gets through spiritual, mental, emotional to the physical, it's been around for quite some time. So if we have things that are starting to show up physically, we know this is old, old behavior that has just made its way through all of these bodies. Now it's in your physical awareness, and we have to eradicate it.
And how does it go back out that way, or how do we even begin to move that? I guess explain. Probably there's some audience members who are Googling Reiki Master right now. You might want to explain exactly what that is and what you do.
Well, so being a Reiki master or just a Reiki practitioner of the Reiki modality it's a healing modality of universal love. So energy outside of this, again, physical body that is in all things. It's in the trees, it's in the animals, it's in nature, it's in the water. And so it's this idea of like connectedness, which is really gorgeous because as humans, our desire is to belong. And so Reiki is just a way to belong and to connect in the energy field, not just in the physical human experience. And I know some of this might sound like really ethereal or woo state, which is totally fine. But if we're getting sick, we can often just look at that as the symptom, and we want to go down to the deeper root cause. And I like to just think of it as like, again, an energetic misalignment. And we can clear that energy. You can get assistance from people that work with moving energy, but you can also do it yourself. And I think people underestimate how profound their own self-healing really can be.
Can you show us something simple that would begin to move energy for those listening to the podcast today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What I would do is I would encourage the person who's experiencing any sort of big emotion to close their eyes and to take a really deep breath in through their nose and to slowly exhale through their mouth. And we want to do this a few times just to calm our body down, our activation. We just want to come into this neutral place where then we can bring the uncomfortable sensation to the forefront of our mind. So if you're in a big upset, like someone just really made you mad, we're not re-traumatizing ourselves by getting back into it. We're just bringing the experience to our awareness, and we want to see it. And then all it takes is the intention of moving it out of your body. Maybe you wrap it in a light, or maybe you wrap it in a color like white or gold, whatever your favorite color is. And now it's all bundled up like a little package, and you can imagine it moving down your body or out of your body at any place it wants to exit. But you just see this experience that you've wrapped up, and you move it until it's out of the body. And what I like to visualize personally is bringing it all the way down to the bottom of my feet, and then letting it pop out from the bottom of my feet. And I imagine it going into the earth, because I trust the wisdom of the earth to take that experience and to recycle it, to turn it into something else. You can send it all the way down into like her molten lava and burn it up if you want. You can send it into the ocean and have it be swept away with the waves, but just trusting that you're turning it over and that she'll know what to do with it. And that's just a visualization on how to bring something to the forefront of your mind and then consciously, with intention, choose to clear it out.
And it lets it, I like the wrapping it up of, I've said, oh, okay, I'm intentionally letting go of
Mhm.
this. And it's such a beautiful process that you could just do it. You were talking about the pause. You can just pause and
Just
let
pause.
it go.
And you
Now,
can do it simultaneously with other things. So, like, water is an incredible way to clear energy. So, when you're in the shower, bring to the top of your head things you're done with, things you want to let go of, and just have the water wash it away. And you can actually watch it go down the drain, you know?
I
So
love
we
it.
can do that too. We can, as we go on our walk in nature, we can actively like stomp our feet on the earth to pull it out from the bottom of our feet. I mean, again, it's not tangible. We're not actually moving like, like a tumor from our bodies, but we're moving the energetic mass that's taken up real estate and we're discarding it. We're getting it out.
A lot of thought process goes into women carrying things across the shoulders, carrying things in the hips to the point where there's pain. Can you use this process to move that pain?
Absolutely. Yeah, the hips have the nickname the junk drawer of the human body. I'm not sure why our bodies chose the hips to hold things, but that's that's very common for a lot of women. And same thing, you can really intentionally try to clear that out. There also, this is beyond my scope, but YouTube is a fantastic resource. There are different fascia release exercises and things that you can do to help. And people might experience really big energy shifts and emotional um, experiences shifts while doing things where, again, it's the emotion is stored in the physical body. So when you
Mm.
start moving the physical body, that emotion comes to the surface. So if you're going to do fascia release or a deep tissue massage or a deep hip opener stretch like in a yin yoga class, very common to have big emotional releases.
And you've been talking all along about not being afraid of those emotional releases.
Mhm.
What do you personally tell yourself when you're really angry or when you're really sad? How do you welcome that emotion?
I love that you use the word welcome because that's exactly what I do. I acknowledge it. So I think of the visualization of a big dinner table, like a Thanksgiving sized dinner table where there's, can sit a lot of people. And every chair is a part of me. And so even if it's anger or, embarrassment or something I, air quote, don't want to be feeling, she's welcome to the table too. So I'm not going to put any part of me into the corner anymore. I'm going to welcome all of it and I'm going to acknowledge her. I'm just going to acknowledge that she exists because,
Mm.
a lot of times we feel like we're not being seen. Maybe others aren't taking us seriously or they don't hear what we have to say. So to rectify that, we have to start seeing all of ourself. We have to be able to see ourselves. So I just acknowledge that it's there. And it might be something as simple as I'm feeling really angry right now, and that's welcome here. And then from there, going into those curious questions, what do you need? What are you trying to tell me? Because oftentimes too, it's not just anger. Like the anger is real and valid, but what's underneath it? Are you grieving? Are you feeling guilty about something? And you can just keep getting deeper and deeper underneath it.
Mm-hmm. As you're helping women fill their cup, who are really struggling with who they are and with their identity, what is something simple they can take away today to start filling their cup?
I think that the best thing they can do is just take a moment to find one thing that genuinely makes them happy. And maybe you go back to your childhood and you think about something that you used to do as a kid that was so much fun. and brought you so much joy before you figured out or was told that it was wrong or that you shouldn't be doing it or that you need to grow up or any of that's for children, not adults, whatever it might be. You go back to that thing, find out if it still feels real and true for you, and then go do it. Just go do, you don't have to go do all the things. Again, we don't have to go from 0 to 100, but can you self-identify one thing that truly makes you feel the way that you want to feel, and then go do that thing and just allow yourself to really experience it.
Do you have suggestions? Are there things that you or your clients have done that they went, oh, I forgot that I really like to finger paint or
Exactly.
whatever.
It usually involves getting messy. So it does usually involve getting messy. So finger painting, walking on the earth barefoot, maybe jumping in a body of water if you're not, like, especially women that have body image issues and they don't want to be seen in a bathing suit. I'm like, when you were a kid, I bet you loved swimming. Can you just jump in somewhere where no one can see you and just have that elation come through your body again? But it does usually end up being something that gets us dirty because we as adults have decided that that's not okay anymore,
Right.
So I love your finger painting example. Typically anything that is a creative expression is really great. And for me, it's climbing in trees, building forts. Like you mentioned, my office is in an attic. This is my little girl's dream come true to have my office up here.
Right.
But I'm always walking barefoot. And I love jumping in any body of water anywhere in the world. It's like, I see it, I swim in it. It brings me so much joy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Lauren, tell us where we can find you, how folks can work with you. What does that look like for you?
That looks like a great place to start is my website, laurenfaycoaching.com. And my name Fay has no E in it. So laurenfaycoaching.com. And from there, it will direct you to my Instagram, where I'm pretty active, relatively speaking, not on there too much, but that would be my main platform. It would direct you in a way to communicate with me via messaging. And also it'll show you that I'm in the process of launching a book, and the book is a memoir, and I'm excited to get it into the hands of the readers because it really is that reclamation of power. So I'm very vulnerable and honest and exposed about the story where I fell out of love with myself. But then I'm going to take the reader through that reclamation of power. And the whole intention of the book is just to be a possibility portal of what's available to anyone who wants to take their lives back.
Awesome. Now, is there something on the website about the book? Are you in process of talking about it?
There's a link on the website. You could sign up to become an early reader. And the book is called Blurred Lines, My Reclamation of Power from Alcohol Addiction. P.S. You are not powerless.
Yay. I love that. I use that all the time because you are not powerless. You are powerless to control others.
Absolutely.
But you are not powerless over yourself and your choices. You can make those choices.
Absolutely. You can make those. There's nothing more powerful than a woman who has choice.
Absolutely. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing all that wisdom and some simple little things. You can go back and listen to this podcast again and have her walk you through that visualization of letting go of those emotions. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Faith Over Addiction podcast. Remember, nothing changes until something changes. Today is your day to step out in faith and make a difference. You are a daughter of the King, a woman who can spark incredible ripple effects of hope and healing, not just in your own life, but in your family, your community, and God's kingdom. If this episode encouraged you, bless someone else by sharing it. Send it to a friend who needs a little hope, or post it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to hear what resonated most with you. And hey, if you're ready to reclaim your God-given identity and create a safe, loving space for yourself and those you care about, let's talk. Book a quick call with me today, and I'd love to hear your story and help you take the next step. Oh, and don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts, search for Faith Over Addiction, and leave me a review. Your feedback not only makes my day, but helps other women find this podcast and step into freedom too. You are strong, you are loved, and the joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Until next time, keep walking boldly into the life God has for you.